on you. It's time to rise. The Raunchy Morning Show is here to energize. Good morning, y'all. Grab your coffee and smile. Ron G's got the tunes to make life worthwhile. From the latest hits to stories that inspire, WSAN Radio sets your soul on fire. Start your day with the beat, feel the groove. Ron G's got the vibe to make you move. With laughter and love, we're here to stay. WSAN Radio, your morning getaway. Wake up, let the rhythm flow. With the Ron G Morning Show. From the heart of Texas, we're ready to shine. WSAN Radio, it's your time. News, interviews, and the songs you love. Ron G's voice lifts you high above. From San Antonio streets to the world beyond. Zion Radio, the sound you'll always find. Feel the energy, let it carry you through. Ron G's got the magic to make dreams true. Turn the dial, join the family. Zions your morning destiny. Wake up, let the rhythm flow. With the Ron G Morning Show. From the heart of Texas, we're ready to shine. WSAN Radio, it's your time. With Ron G, San Antonio, let the music play. The Ron G Morning Show makes your day.
That nice echo. I keep on messing with it. But anyway, here we are right here live with Joseph Lee here with Impact Counseling and Consulting Services. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good evening over here in
Right, good evening over there.
Okinawa, Japan, and this side of the world. But definitely glad to be on here again. And with that echo was pretty good timing there.
Yeah,
that you did. That was pretty cool. But yeah, so that topic. It's always been interesting to me on how we had so many problems throughout the years about color. And it's actually an interesting psychological phenomenon that I read a book about many years ago, and when I kind of delve into that, I've always been interested in psychology, but also the way that we sometimes get in our own way, and one of the ways is, thanks to Mr. Willie Lynch back many years ago, put some ways of for Black folk to get in the way of each other or oppress each other. And one of those things was to look at differences in skin tone. And if a person was darker skin, then they were sometimes treated less than, and that permeated into our own community, our own mindset. So this book is called The Color Complex. So there's another book for people to check out. It's called The Color Complex. And then another one, which is really a deep book, and it's a little more difficult to read, but it definitely is a good book to check out. It's called Black Skin, White Masks by Frantz Fanon, who was a early psychologist, I think it was, who kind of did a psychoanalysis of himself and the harm that being very dark skinned, I think from Africa, and why he would only date white women, and was a result of oppression and mental mental defect is what he described it. And he's pretty graphic, so if you read that book, it's going to be graphic, but he goes into detail about why he chooses who he chooses to be with and why he was that way. And it's really boils down to the effect of racism and just trying to get into the popular society, culture, whatever you call it. So it's pretty interesting and pretty sad and scary, So a lot of stuff there, man. It's a lot of interesting stories. Spike Lee had a movie many years ago. They kind of poked fun at, how the different sororities and fraternities, back in the day used to, maybe have an issue with the color complex, and I think the Divine Nine has come a long way in getting past that. and understanding what's going on with us, and how that is something that's very ignorant. Because like you said, it don't matter what shade, we all black,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Because what I wrote to somebody when they asked that question, I think I put down colorism is discrimination based on one's skin tone. That's how I started off, and I'm part of that product because I'm light skinned and people didn't like me in high school because of the color of my skin, my own kind. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with you. And I got beat up a couple of times because of the color as of my skin. And it went through trends. All of a sudden, light skinned people were in. You
That's
know,
right.
I want to date somebody that was light skinned. I'm sitting down there. I said, "Well, wait a minute. I ain't asked to be born this color." And it was really rampant back in 69 through 69 through 75. That was the era that people wanted to date people that was light skinned, and that was the era that we got tortured and picked on and everything. And then we were fighting the racism part of it. It's almost like we was fighting two different battles, you know?
Yeah. Well, back in the day, I think in that period of time, that was the era of Superfly, right?
Yeah.
So, you didn't have a perm, did you?
No,
Let me
no.
let me stop messing with you.
But you look at it, you're right, because that was a trend because Shaft was dark skinned and
Right,
Superfly was light skinned.
right.
So
And then see, Ron, I'm a lot darker than I was back in the day, but I was like right in the middle. So I got the best of both worlds. So I was light enough to get the light skin thing. I was dark enough to get kind of the dark skin thing, but not, too dark. And hey, I didn't care what happened. As long as the girls liked it, I was like, hey, thank you for making me a chameleon. I could be a light or dark skin. But it's so, if you think about it, man, it's really kind of stupid. We are who we are, and I think that's what's one of the most beautiful things about being black is we like 31 flavors. We got all the colors, and we it's all in there. You know what I'm saying? So it don't really make sense to me how the color complex just never made sense to me. That people would get fixated on just dating outside of our race, because I could understand, my grandfather used to say, you can't find you a sister. You can choose whatever shade you want, but you better choose you a sister. So it was well, he used to always say that, man. We lost relationships with family members because they married outside of our
Race.
ethnicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite uncles, man, who used to work at, I can't say the name of the company, but he used to work at a candy company, and I used to get these amazing, suckers that I used to even sell at school. And my grandfather got into it, and I know all them suckers dried up. I said, man, this is person. This is personal, man. You affected my money now, my
Yeah.
my school hustle,
Oh,
but
man.
it was sad, man. We really have had some tough situations with that. So and that's it actually falls in line with our topic of return to the village on how we have to learn how to stop letting these barriers divide us, light skin, dark skin. Then, my favorite was, you talk, because you speak proper English, that you don't talk black. What does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is, that's having proper diction and being articulate make you less African American or black because you can speak well. And see, and my grandmother used to tell me, learn how to talk because
Yeah.
that is your resume. And people don't know how important it is, but if you ever watch Tyler Perry and Medea, when Medea tries to speak proper, I had a couple situations. Shout out to the lady that was in the military that we got into it, saying, "Why you talk so proper?" I said, "Why don't you?" You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's gonna be a paycheck for me. That's why you're gonna be, she came for me, Ron. I had to fire back. Like, this is how we talk up north.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're talking about. And then once I got heated, then I was okay. I was black then because I got heated and I checked her. It's like, man, I said, you need to, educate yourself on us because I don't have to act toward the lower denominator of us to be black. Just because I will flip out and lose my temper, then you want to see me as black. But if I'm articulate, calm, and laid back, then you want to say that's somebody else. And so, like, Barack Obama, I'm sure he had a rough time sometime in school,
Yeah.
because who you think you are? You're like Barack Obama, and you're talking like, I know we had to hear it, but we've all had to deal with that, man, and we all learned about code switching. Remember, uh,
Mhm.
anybody know what that is? That is when, you get around certain folks, you talk it differently. Make sure that you don't say any slang and talk very proper so that you can not be threatening and all that good stuff. So, nah, it's what we've had to do to make it. And certain jobs and whatever, you don't want to be considered threatening or ethnic, as they say. So it's just things that we have to deal with. This color thing is a lot more than a color. It's what we've had to do because of racism, because of opportunity. And I guarantee you, with the climate we in right now, you're
Yeah.
gonna see a whole lot more code switching. You're gonna see a whole lot more people trying to, pass. Remember that?
Yep.
People trying to pass. You know, it's really going to be interesting. So I deduce that we're going to have a lot more of those returns of unfortunately things that we used to deal with in the past because of oppression and racism.
You know
So,
what's
and
funny?
see now it's alive. We see now it's alive and well.
Yeah, when you brought that up about code switching, what irritates me sometime is you go into some place and somebody white come up to you, their whole demeanor change, and they want to try to shuffle their feet and talk hip and talk black. I said, dude, what you doing? Man, I'm talking like you. I said, do I sound like that? And he just looked at me. He said, no. I said, that's a misconception that you have. And I was told the same thing. I was told, man, why are you talking white? I said, no, actually, I'm talking right. That's how I was brought up to talk, And I remember the old grandmothers. I hear it to this day. They be talking proper and everything, and somebody say something to them, and the first thing out their mouth say, "Don't have me come out my religion." They will say that. That was, oh, don't have me do that. And I didn't know what they meant. So I watched this grandmother go off on somebody. So that's what she meant coming out of her religion, you know?
Yeah, yeah, those old school mothers of the church and them elders, you don't want them to come out their religion. That's you don't want them problems, boy, because
Hmm.
it was they could scar you for life if you got them heated, boy. That's and not since we bring that up, man. Shout out to the big mamas, the mothers of the church, the anchors of the community. Those of us that grew up in Black or African American communities know exactly what I'm talking about. Big Mama, it's a figure that we know. And if you've been in the hood, around the hood, in a neighborhood that was predominantly Black, you knew a Big Mama, or you knew somebody that was taking care of multiple kids. It may not even have been their own. They could come by the house, they can get a plate, they could find out what's going on, and she would look out for them. She would love them and direct them to the closest nearest church where they can get resources, help, love, support, all that good stuff. And many of us wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for Big Mama. I know I went plenty of Big Mamas looked out for me in Flint. I had quite a few that assumed that role in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Had a few that made sure that they made sure when things weren't going good that I had love in that environment, and that's why I do what I do, you know, in a lot of ways, because I know the importance of somebody looking past your situation to who you are and making sure that you're good. And, you know, there's a lot more big shout out to the big mamas. That's all I can say.
And
Uh,
one,
and, you know,
yeah, and one thing I
that's
would
all I,
say about Big Mamas, nobody messed with Big Mama because people came to her support, and she had the updo respect of everybody in that neighborhood. If somebody said something about Big Mama, somebody was there to check them.
listen, mess around. Yeah, they have a saying, mess around and find out, but it ain't mess around. Messing around with Big Mama. Even hardcore gangsters, thugs wouldn't mess with Big Mama. It just they would you know bypass or look out for. If you said something to her about her, you was gonna have problems. You know, because they knew, everybody knew who she was. It wasn't just her neighborhood. Big Mama was known throughout the city. You'd be
Mhm.
surprised. You know, all the things and all the people that she's helped to raise and look out for. You know, she's a very powerful individual. So if you think about it, there's probably a Big Mama around, but Big Mama can't do what she used to do now.
Oh,
She can't spank people.
mm-mm.
You know, she can't cuss you out, because a lot of these kids are you know, let's just say they don't have the respect for elders that they used to have, put it like that. So um, you know, I don't even know what I would do if I saw somebody disrespecting a Big Mama nowadays. You know, I might lose my license, man. If I saw that, you know, it just, you know, it's a whole different time. But we got to get back to that. We got to get back to where we
Yeah.
respected our elders. We listened to. I know, and I can 100% guarantee, I would not be in a position I am doing the things I'm doing if it wasn't for elders and big mamas and, you know, male role models that said, hey, this is the way. Shut up and listen. You know, shout out to Clyde Pogue, rest in peace, who one of my mentors, who was mentored by my grandfather, who probably had to tell him to shut up and listen at some point, you know, and learn how to navigate these waters, you know, because listen, if you don't listen to an elder now and you're younger, and this is a shout out to these teenagers and younger folks, you better listen to somebody who's made it, and when I say made it, legally, they have, you know, a home, a family, cars, settled in their career, been doing the same job for over a decade, or business. You know, they can maybe tell you something. So be available and listen, and be respectful, because these elders, they're not going to waste their time with somebody who's a knucklehead. Now they might care for you, but they're not going to take the time to show you what you need to know and give you the keys in life, if you don't have respect. That's the first step. And I know people. I hear a lot of seniors talk. In my bond, we used to have this thing in San Antonio. Shout out to San Antonio, Texas, Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. We used to have this round table at Lackland, at one of the places there, and it was basically older Kappas, retired Air Force colonels, high-ranking individuals, and just, you know, successful business owners that, you know, would sit around and just talk. And if you were respectful and listen, you would learn something. You know, they would unlock for you and tell you certain things on how to navigate. But if you were a knucklehead, they would just sit back and let you talk, and kind of look at each other like, yeah, you know, you don't know nothing.
I like,
You know, let me tell you something. So, you know, shout out to Church Watkins over there. Had put his name out there, and there's so many others, man. I can name, but you know, it's important to listen to your elders. It's important to learn how to navigate in these waters. So return back to the village. We got to return back to that time where we listen to our elders, we're respectful, and, you know, we learn how to navigate.
you know, you brought up something, return to the village. Um, what are some ways communities can promote mental well-being?
Some ways communities can promote it.
Yeah, can promote mental well-being.
Well, you know, um, back in the day, everybody used to have these things called community centers,
Mhm.
or they used to have, you know, maybe your church was even community center, boys and girls clubs, used to have places where people can get together and do things. So well-being, the first thing is you can't promote well-being without being connected. So for the first step is, connecting with each other, knowing who your neighbors are, knowing who's in the community. So to promote well-being, you have to first know who your people are, right? So we got to get back, we got to get there. And then we have to then take an interest, a genuine interest in each other. Check in, we check on like right now. I'm a part, even though I'm in Okinawa, Japan, and we have a community here that I love. I still have a community in San Antonio I love. I still have a community in Grand Rapids, Michigan I love. And we communicate on a regular basis as best we possibly can with a 15 an hour difference. So we're still connected. We're still connected. And if there's something that we can do for each other, hands down, we do it. And that's it. So how to promote wellness is to be connected, show genuine empathy, and empathy is what? It's when you care about someone else as if it's you, right? And you can understand and you feel their pain. Women typically have that better than men. We don't process pain well. We process, fake it till we make it well, or we process, we're not showing weakness well. But I try to flip that on its head and say, okay, well, define strength. Strength is usually being able to recover quickly, heal, and move forward. A lot of times women can do that much faster than men. Why? Because they are genuine about their feelings. If something hurts them, they express it. They're one of the first ones to cry, let it out, and they're one of the first ones to move on.
Yep.
Yeah, if you look at a divorce situation, one of the first ones to move on, after a long relationship, move on effectively, I'd say, would be a woman, because they are usually more connected with their feelings. They usually deal with it. And then when they move on, and they don't look back. you know, Guys, we shook a little bit longer because we are repressing how we really feel and acting like we got it going on. And then we get out to the environments where we thought we wanted to get to and find out we don't have it going on. Then we're like, wait a minute, let me try to get back to my wife. And she already found somebody that has more sense than you. So that's how that usually works. You know what I'm saying? So don't blame me. I'm just, an observer of the situation. Don't be mad.
So, what are the misconceptions about therapy? Because you brought up that right now about men. Women will do it right away, and men will hesitate about going to therapy. So, what is that misconception that men have about going to therapy?
It starts with us young. We're told, men don't cry. You don't express those type of things. You don't have the, you don't talk to a therapist. We don't snitch on ourselves, our family. You heard that saying back in the day. What happens in this house stays in this house, right? Which is the biggest misconception in the world, because what happens in this house usually spills out in more than one way outside of the house, in bad relationships, generational problems, things of that nature. And then we wonder why, our kids and people are having a hard time staying married. Well, they seeing what's going on in that house that we ain't talking about,
Yeah.
and then living it out. And then they got to come and see somebody like me, or, somebody on the impact team, because, things aren't working out in their relationship, or they can't figure it out. It's because how we're conditioned as men, is pretty rough sometimes, not to show our feelings or not to be able to articulate emotion. So then what do we usually do? We usually try to drown it in drugs, alcohol, sometimes, outside relationships, because we're not being heard. It's real easy for, what's that saying, a song that used to be in the day, for the cleanup woman to come through
Yeah.
when the wife isn't listening to her husband. Unfortunately, there's women out there that want that paycheck, want that part-time husband, and anyway, that's a whole other lesson. But it comes from guys not being conditioned to just not speak too much about how they feel, and a lot of women think that is less attractive when a man can express how he feels.
Oh,
And then ends up wondering why they end up with a guy that want to go upside their head more because they don't know how to articulate how they really feel. They used to another type of male, and then they wonder why their relationships are jacked up and he can't communicate with his kids. It's because he's damaged. Means he's psychologically limited in how he can articulate his feelings, and you are attracted to that, wondering why you in a bad relationship all the time. You keep dating damaged men. So hello, I'm trying to help some of y'all out there if you listen, but but they don't want to hear me though. Remember back in the day when a sensitive guy, was it Michael Jackson? He was cleaning up all the women, because he was so sensitive. Oh, Michael Jackson's sensitive. And he was getting all the women, right? And he probably didn't even understand why all those women liked him because he was a counter. I think he did know. I think he was a genius, man. He knew uh these women were starving for that. Then Ralph Transvan, I remember him for New Edition. He
yeah.
came out with Mr. Sensitivity, and all the women went crazy
Mhm.
because we're conditioned to not show. And I was like, dang, I just need to act like I care more and I can pick up more women, back in the day. Uh, so you start asking women, questions, how you doing? How was your day? See,
Yeah.
see what, you
What?
know, yeah, tried to pick up some game from the foolishness, right? But, it's really damage, and once you really become, I'd say, mature and generally concerned about your significant other, you see a change in your relationship. Just generally asking how you doing,
Yeah.
not talking always about what's going on with you or whatever, and that goes both ways. It's a good thing in a relationship.
You brought up being sensitive and stuff. Some men, um, like you said, how they were brought up. Another thing now, women, I'm not saying all women, so don't beat me up. Part
Yeah,
of
you in a dangerous place, Ron. Be careful, man. You in the States.
I don't mind being I don't mind being a dangerous place, but if you look at it, women contribute some of the way men act. But when they jump, they get mad at them, say, "You're not a real man anyway. You too emotional. You too this, too that." And a man can only take so much, and then they want to know why they're distanced from them. And something's wrong with him. Well, you did that something wrong. If you look back at everything that went on, you constantly tell him he's not a man, but you're with him. You can't degrade him and then be with him and expect for him to say everything is okay. He's going to find somebody that's going to care for him the way he is and understand him. So I'm just saying that because I read about it, I hear about it, and there are actually some women that on some of the posts are saying, "Women, we are our biggest problem. Why are we going to talk about our man?" And you have a good man, but you push that good man away because you want a bad boy. Then that bad boy go upside your head, and then you think, I had a good man, but I pushed him away. Why did I do that? Not only men got to be conditioned, some women got to be conditioned too.
100%, Ron. You really said a lot right there, in terms of relationships and in particular, with Black or African American relationships because, and I hate to go, well, I got to go all the way back to the root. You have to go all the way back to slavery to look at how African American males have been deemasculated, meaning that manhood has been taken from them because they had no control over their household or not even being able technically to be married and the family being broken up. Images of us, there's a big theory, and I better be careful I guess I don't know if I need to be careful talking about it, but I just need to talk about it, I guess. Because we've already had problems with you being harassed on Facebook. So, if I bring this topic up, you might get harassed again, but I'm gonna bring it up. The images of us being deemasculated, where most Black male actors have had to put on a dress, to be successful in Hollywood. And people like Cat Williams had pointed out that he refused to wear a dress in a role, right? And then if you do put on a dress and you have a deemasculated image, your career will move up. If you take the bass out your voice, if you know black males that have a more feminine sounding voice, a lot of times will be more acceptable or not as threatening. I'm involved in a legal situation right now because somebody maybe misinterpreted how I carried myself, and because I don't, tap dance, so to speak, and not pointing the finger at anybody else that their voice is a little higher or whatever the case may be. But when I say something, it resonates a little differently because of the sound of my voice versus somebody that maybe speaks a little higher, right? So, we always have to fit in this box of not being threatening, not being, aggressive because, I might intimidate somebody who's doing the wrong thing. But I got to be careful not to intimidate them. Well, I'm telling you, if you're doing the wrong thing, you should be intimidated, to not do the wrong thing. So, like, let me get off my soapbox real quick. But it's this whole perception of, what women want, men try to, to be. And that starts in, school. The guy, half the reason a lot of guys go into sports is just how them girls look at you when you get to walk around school with your jersey. you know uh you know that's a lot of reason why a lot of guys go off of sports. I know that's why I tried football for a minute. I was like, hey, wait a minute, I could, I get to get different girls to like me if I could play football, right? And then I had to realize I also had to get some other things I didn't like halfway killed out there on the field. So I was like, nah, I think I'm gonna find another way. Let me go to the band and I can play some music and I don't care, call me a nerd, but your girlfriend like me. That's all. That's that's how I used to, So yeah, then you had another set of problems, but at least I had an instrument I could bop you over the head with if you got crazy. That's why my trumpet had dents in it because I had to use it as a weapon. Ron, I'm telling my kids, don't be like, don't do that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. But don't always hang out with the drums. So because I always have some drumsticks. You turn that bad boy around, you got something. You know what I'm saying? If somebody want to act crazy, but anyway, just real life stories of how you survive in the hood. You got thugs out there, but you got to be this image, Ron. And unfortunately, a lot of girls wouldn't date you if you were sensitive. But then there were some girls that like sensitive guys, and then if you had a little edge to you, they like that. But unfortunately, I noticed the ladies that loved the guy with the edge, they were always in bad relationships. They were always in, dysfunctional situations and then come and say, well, Joe, how can you be more like Joseph or whatever? And then that makes me, you got to always talk about Joseph. I'm like, man, would you please shut up talking about me? I don't need these problems. I'm saying, like, talk about somebody else, anyway. So we have all these stereotypes of, then it doesn't help the images on TV, the gangster, the thug, the rap type guy, the misogynistic behavior, that some women are, attracted to that. And you got to really be careful with your choice of husband because that's who your daughters are going to look at. Right. In terms of a male figure, you're like, wow, why is my baby dating all these crazy acting dudes? Well, I hate to say it. Who did you marry? Who did you marry? Or who do you talk about? Who do you say is attractive or fine or whatever? Do you talk about an intellectual, articulate family man that, is as a role model for your daughter? Or did you marry a thug? If you married a thug, then guess who she's going to be interested in? Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you create that situation and scenario that repeats itself, and then you have a little baby thugs, running around, and then the cycle continues. So there used to be a time, if we go back to the village, that if a person went to jail, that used to be shame on the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now a person go to jail, it's almost like a badge of honor. Yeah, man, I did a bid up in such and such, man. I was representing up there, nothing to be proud of, man, that you went to jail. That ain't really nothing to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? That you lost your rights and freedom and was a modern day slave for a while. That's really not nothing to brag about. You know what I'm saying? And it's also not nothing to brag about that you didn't go to jail. You shouldn't go to jail, as Chris
Yeah.
Rock said. It's not anything to brag about either. So, jail is just a bad institution to be around. Praise God if you didn't make it in, and praise God that you made it out. But it's not nothing to celebrate, either way.
Yeah, we
I had to
got,
put that out.
I'll let you know we got a couple questions that came in.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
One of them is reflected towards you.
All right. Reflected on me. Yeah, let's go.
They said
I'm
how
ready.
personally, how they put it, how do you personally recharge when you're feeling mentally drained?
How do I recharge?
Yeah,
Oh man, that's a very good question. How do I recharge? Because when you're hearing other people's problems all day and you got your own problems and all kind of things, you better know how to recharge, right? So really taking a moment to just be present and being mindful. So I do some meditation where I cut the world off, right? So I stop looking at the news for a minute. I have a beautiful, like where I'm sitting at right now, you can't see it, but there's a beautiful ocean behind me. I'm sitting right by the East China Sea. So I'll go back there and listen to the water, the waves, and just get into nature, into the sounds, and just forget the world exists other than what I hear sometimes. So I might have some apps that I listen to, like Calm, and I forget there's another one that I listen to that's really good. Um, Let me pull it up real quick, the name of it. It's called Brain Pal. Brain Pal.
yeah,
So you can get in there, and I have some AirPods that silences all the noise. And I do some deep breathing techniques, relax, reset, recharge. And the more you do that, the more your body will get a condition. And there's actually some really good therapy, some really good tools that I used to use in private practice, which is mindfulness, or EMDR, which is a way of just really helping you it monitors your breathing, heart rate, all of that, and gets you to a calm state, meditative state, where you can relax and calm down. So the other thing too is just unplugging, putting the phone down, spending time with my family. I love, like yesterday, I haven't been able to pick up my daughter for a while because of work obligations. So I just surprised her and dropped the top on the car and, picked my daughter up and just hung out with her for a little while. So spending time with family, spending time with my baby, my daughter. Well, he's always going to be my baby, but now she's about 5'7", 5'8". She's about looking up to my height here
yeah,
in a minute, but she's still my baby. So, you know, spending time with those people that recharge you versus the people that drain you is also important. So
yeah,
there's some people that I just can't deal with, and at work, if I don't want to be bothered in that moment, I don't really have any people at my current role or office. I don't want to put that out there, but that drain me. But there are people that have jobs where when that person comes around, you're like, oh Lord, here we go. Here they come with the drama. Here they come with this, or here they come with that. You gotta put something on that door, do not disturb for a minute, or say, hey, I gotta take care of something. I gotta do some paperwork. I gotta do something to not allow all that mess to filter into your mindset and give you some extra baggage to carry that day. So it really being mindful and being intentional about who takes from your energy. So understanding that you have energy, that you have only so much strength. If you ever wake up just tired and exhausted, and you're just like, man, just think about the things that you're thinking about and just let it go, and focus on other things. So learning how to let go, focus on what's most important, learning how to meditate, having being conscious of how you're feeling, ask yourself during the day, how am I feeling today?
yeah,
And not feeling right, you have some routines. Like I pull on Layla Hathaway. One of my favorite, things to listen to is Breathe. It's a song called Just Breathe. And it reminds you to breathe, and reminds you to get into that right mindset. So you got to have some fast tracks to the right mindset. And then once I reset, then I can be ready to talk about, somebody else. And, I'll be real. I've got some health issues going on, things going on, but, I don't have time to be stuck in that. I've got to keep moving and appreciating the blessings that I have. And, if you don't focus on the glass full and look at the glass empty, you're going to make that glass even emptier because you focus on the negative, and all of a sudden it's going to get lower. So, you focus on the positive, and it'll elevate that.
You brought up something that I want to come back on. It's people at work who comes in all the time complaining, always got something to say, saying the boss is dumb to know what they're talking about. That wears on you. And I'm guilty. Years ago, somebody came in acting like that. Finally, after a year here and there, I said, man, why don't you just quit and go home? I am
Yeah.
tired of you coming in every day complaining about this job. Just go home. He looked at me and said, I can't. Why? My wife be mad at you. Well, I'm mad at you now because I'm tired of you and you complaining all the time. Was that a right approach? I don't know, but he pissed me off every day. He just hit a nerve. And I said, if you don't like this job, find another one. And then
Facts.
after I sat back and thought about what I said something wrong. He needs some help somewhere along the line, because
Yeah, a lot of times it is a cry out, man.
yeah,
Like there's other things going on. And what's interesting though, is you said, man, if I can't even go home because my wife wouldn't want me at home. And so, so he having a bad situation. They don't like him at work, they don't like him at home. So, it's probably maybe that's part of the problem. He, got problems at home and it's spilling over at work. I don't know. But it's a study that I read many, many years ago and this is why it's very important. When I saw this study, I really started watching who I hung around. Do you know that if you are around, just simply around people that argue, your heart rate and your emotional state matches exactly to the people that you're around? So if you're around people that argue all the time, you're going to go through the same issues over time that they go through. So if they're dysfunctional, your body is going to go through that same stress and eventually develop the same things like hypertension, all stress, anxiety, all those things. It will start to experience, just like you are in there in an argument. So when people come in bringing that negativity, bringing all that mess around you, they are causing you to go through the same thing. So what I try to do sometimes is when people come to me with something negative, I try to flip it to something positive. So it's just like a switch, and if you condition yourself to do this, just watch and see it. For anybody that's listening to this, just watch and see if when people come with you something negative, go, no matter what, well, at least we got a job. And it'll shut them right off, shut that negative faucet off, and then think about, yeah, well, I'm gonna go ahead and buy these groceries later on today. So that's gonna make me feel better that I can go and pay for these $8 eggs, $10
oh
carton of
boy,
eggs, or go get this gas. Whereas if you get laid off or fired, that's gonna look a little different. Then you really got something to complain about, right? So like, yeah, man, I guess we should, I should be happy I got a job. Yeah, turn it off, man, because that negativity, you'll be all around feeling like, dang, why do I feel I came in feeling good, have my breakfast ready to, enjoy my day. And now I feel bad after hearing, all this nonsense. So learn how to cut that mess off like a faucet. When they come in, turn it around. And eventually what'll happen if a person is really bad with this negativity and all that,
yeah,
they'll stop coming around you because they want to stay in that negative mode and that cloud, So look, keep your cloud over there, keep your rain over there. You're gonna have enough in your life. You don't need to take on anybody else's storms.
yeah, you're right. And then they'll leave you alone once like, for instance, one person never said good morning. Every morning I go, good morning. And someone told me keep on saying good morning because they would never say good morning. So finally, after about a couple of months, me saying good morning all the time, the person, why do you always say good morning to me? I said, well, why not? And they looked at me and said, what do you mean by that? It's a good morning. How's a good morning? I said, well, my uncle once told me it's a good morning because you woke up above ground. And they looked at me like I never thought of it like that. But after that, it was always good morning to each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to break the ice. And it's a good person, and some people are confined to themselves because they scared to go outside their bubble, outside their box, because they feel better if they just right here. And if they expand, they figure they're gonna let evil come in or something's gonna come in. But it's gonna come and go. But I just kept on saying good morning to them until finally they said good morning.
Well, let me tell you, you know, it's you can change your environment by being that light, but you can also attract some foolishness by being that light too. Because some people will be mad that you can come in with a good attitude or be, so you can't really let other people dictate who you are. You have to really you be again, go back to the point I said earlier, be aware of your current state. And I think, your day goes better when you feel better, when you're not dwelling on all the things that have gone wrong are going wrong. So, we're gonna have those issues, those hiccups, those potholes, so to speak, in of the day that you run over. But you don't want to stay in the pothole. You go through it and realize where it's at, so you don't hit it the next day. As best you can, and keep it moving. Um, but if you got that person that's always, I call it the negative Nancy or the, Debbie Downer, whatever you want to call her, you know, don't be that person, and if you're around that person, you speak to them, keep on doing that because you're creating an environment where if you got to go to work every day, you got to come to this environment. Why would you make the environment that you go to negative when you got to be here all day?
Yeah, that's
Just like that person that you were talking about, he was having a bad time at home. Now he's coming to work and having a bad time. And now, so it's a whole cycle of having a bad time. Listen, find some positive things that you can do at work that's going to uplift you. Bring yourself a little healthy snack or something. Take a couple minutes, pop on that Calm app. But, if you have a break or lunch, get into the right mindset, take a break. I don't care what's going on at work. If I have to go to work, I am leaving that building and going to lunch
yes.
because people rob themselves of their hour or hour and a half, whatever you get for lunch every day to sit there and work. And at the end of the day, you can't get that time back. So, take your time, recharge. I mean, it's almost like I have a fresh reset every day. I work really hard to lunch and then I can just forget about work for a minute and I come back refreshed. It starts to be a little ritual. I set everything up I'm gonna do right when I get back from lunch and go for it, refresh and recharge, and eating something healthy. Don't eat anything real heavy. Eat something healthy, eat something good to you. And then you go back in that mindset and listen to your calm, do your deep breathing for a minute, and then go back in and knock out the rest of the day. So you got to take care of yourself. That's part of self-care, actually,
Yep.
is care of yourself, resting, working all those extra hours half the time, sometimes it's not even really appreciated. You just working yourself to death. For what? For
Mhm.
what? People lose sick days and days that they could have took off their out of their schedule every year because they think that that's going to help them along in their career. And some of those people get promoted right past, and they working harder than the person that's taking care of themselves. And the secret is the person is actually working at a higher level because they're taking care of themselves.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's one of the life hacks and secrets. Take care of yourself no matter what. Take care of yourself. And if you're not taking care of yourself, your job, might need to look at why.
I'm glad you brought that up because somebody asked me a question about mentally my personal deal on how do I do what I'm doing all the time because you're always positive all the time. I said, well, I can't answer that question, but I can answer it in a two-part. And they said, what's your two-part? Well, there's a business side of me and there's the personal side of me. I can't
Mhm.
let those interfere with each other. I have to learn how once business is over with, I need to leave business alone. Like for instance, come Friday at 5 o'clock. If I don't have nothing lined up for the weekend, this radio station is running on its own and I don't bother. I stay away. I don't answer nothing until Monday morning. I said, on the personal side, I'll tell my wife, hey, let's jump in the car, let's take off. And one place I like going down to is the Luling, Texas, that has on that barbecue. We'll take time out and take a drive, or we'll go down to Corpus or in the hill country. So I told him that's how I do myself, not try to stay stressed. I make sure that my business and personal life don't blend together. Then I will be a erratic, crazy disc jockey, whatever you want to call it. So I try to keep those things separate. And it's hard sometimes to keep it separate because when I'm out somewhere and somebody asks what I do for a living, I dread not to say, oh, I got a radio station that I do. Then the conversations on the radio station. I try to keep that away. I'm my personal side, I love bowling. I love baseball. I love beating up the grandkids playing, but just having fun with the grandkids. That's the side I want to talk about sometime. I won't leave the radio side alone. But some people cross those things together, and that household is never happy if I'm in the right direction, Joseph.
Yeah, you're definitely in the right direction. That's what I'll be honest. When I first started my practice, I had a hard time separating, my life from my business. In fact, my personal cell phone number is my business number as well. So, and I let people know I'm all about my business. So if you call me, you're gonna leave a message. This number down here at the bottom.
Yeah,
That number is that number I take with me everywhere I'm at in the world. And it's also the message is my business, message.
yeah,
And people are surprised when I actually answer sometimes, because I don't answer all the time. I get a lot of calls when your personal number is your business number. A lot of times, I thought it was a genius move, and in a way, it was a sign of me being too focused. And you have to separate that. Now, at different times, when you call my practice office, I could check those messages and things of that nature. But, all of my advertisements on my website, all that number is there as a direct way of communicating with me. Now, I've had appointment numbers where I would separate on the back for you to call and set up an appointment. But you really need to separate as best you possibly can your personal life from your business life. And I'll tell you, you don't want to overlap those things because then you don't ever take a break.
yeah,
So it's really, I never really experienced burnout because I love what I do as a therapist, right? But I have experienced exhaustion, right? When people constantly will call and I've had close friends try to get some psychological advice and wanted me to be their therapist, and I was like, can't do it. I can't separate. And I used to tell our great friend Karaoke Didi, I don't want people. I don't put a lot of my stuff on. When I go to karaoke on Facebook because I don't want people to come in that environment and see me as a therapist, right? And then I deal with people with mental health issues, so I don't necessarily want them coming to where I'm at,
yeah,
where I'm relaxing. You know what I'm saying? So you have to really guard your peace. I call it you have to protecting your peace. You have to
yeah,
protect your peace, and it's really just like really setting up a boundary of I'm kind of a private person, but when you live and have a business and you kind of have to get out there in the public. But like I had a birthday party that was really special to me, and at first I was going to post all those pictures, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to keep those just for me. And I keep threatening to put them out there. But me and a lot of our karaoke family went to Corpus Christi a couple years ago, and that literally is one of my best birthdays I ever had. But now it's kind of special because if you were there, you knew. So shout out to Brad and Glenn and the Dee Dee and just everybody that was there. It was really a special birthday. Now, I know people were like, well, why did he put his pictures up? Well, because that's my birthday. That's my birthday gift. You know what I'm saying? To myself is just being around a lot of not all of the karaoke family, but a lot of the San Antonio karaoke family and just fellowship and having fun. And you don't have to put all your business out there, and just enjoy your life and keep some things to yourself and for your family, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, you're right about that. Man. Woo. Well, this hour is going by.
Yeah,
And
we talked about some good stuff, man.
yeah,
All right.
it's some stuff that needs to be said that as we say it's taboo, nobody want to talk about it. Well, we gonna talk about it because it needs to be said. And I hope some people are listening out there and figuring out you need to open up sometimes, especially to your spouse. You need to open up to them. Because I know I told my wife, I said it's one word. If I use this one word ever, and I think I told you too, Joseph, you need to come get me because
Mm.
something's going to happen. But
You
then
never
I
told me
told,
that. Hold
huh?
on, you didn't tell me that.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just one word that I use if I get real pissed off and things going to happen. But I'm telling myself, don't get in that state for it to happen.
Yeah,
Avoid.
well, you make sure you tell me the one word, man, so I know when you about to go off.
Yeah. But I learned through years and through life, some of the stuff is not worth it because the social skill class that I took, it taught me how to say never react because when you react, you're reacting off emotion. You want to sit back, think about it, and respond. And so I keep that in my head, like nobody's gonna push me over the edge, like that song, don't push me, I'm close to the edge. I try not to, I get myself out that situation. When people sit and tell you, oh, you just a punk, you just a coward walking away. I said, the only heroes that I know are dead heroes. So I'm not gonna be a hero just to say anything, just to pacify you. I said, I'm walking away because a man will walk away from a situation that could turn real dangerous. You don't have to have your manhood up because you want to impress your woman or people around you. You're not going to talk to me like that. Then all of a sudden, you laying on the ground and you deceased. I don't get in those situations. I stay away from those situations.
Yeah, you need to, especially in these day and age, and with active shooters and all kind of foolishness. You just never know. You might win the battle that day and lose the war overall. People come back and people have guns on them and weapons, and you never know how close somebody is to the edge, right?
Yeah,
So, it's just, we live in those times, right, where you need to be, and I teach that to a lot of the teens I talk to, and in a lot of the therapeutic treatment plans that I put about being proactive versus reactive. And reactive is a bad place to be, right?
yeah,
Um, you can really, really cause damage when you react versus being proactive and thinking about the consequence of everything that you do. And it's also gives you a leg to stand on when you're proactive because you can say, "Hey, I don't have a history of reacting," right?
Mhm.
That's counting to my benefit right now in a situation because of being legally entangled in something. I was like, hey, you can check my record. I don't have incidences of reacting. You're trying to paint me a certain way because you're playing
Right.
off of a stereotype, but no, me reacting, you don't have that. Me acting ignorant or yelling and hollering. So, you got me maybe addressing you for
Yeah,
improper ways of treating me, but no, you don't have anything like that because I don't react like that. So learning how to be proactive can actually help you save your life, save your job, save your
yeah,
career, save your reputation, save your marriage, save your kids. It's really a lot, and even the word it tells you to move away from anger. I forget the scripture where it says that cease from anger. I know in Psalms 37 it talks about you know uh, neglect wrath. You know, move away from that. Let and I'll tell you one thing I've started doing is I start praying for my enemy
yeah,
and on my tongue in a regular basis because sometimes, man, Tiff will tell you I'm quick to get into a fight legally or whatever the case may be. If I feel I'm paying for these lawyers anyway, I will put them to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, they know me well, right? I meet with a lawyer almost weekly, over something or another, and you guys know how to fight, but you have to pick your battles carefully.
Yeah.
And you don't want to fight on emotion, right? You have to know how to be very um, now I don't say calculative because that sounds like you're plotting, but you just need to already well, I ask the Lord to order my steps. Now, if you're not a religious person, you should be, because I don't know how you're gonna make it without it, but if you're not, you need to really be intentional about your steps and how you move. And we know that, being African American male, because if you show any sign of anger, then you're falling right into a stereotype, right?
Exactly.
Even when you have a right to be angry, you can still fall into that stereotype, and they can try to use that against you and say, "Oh, well, I felt threatened," even though they're cutting up.
Yeah.
They feel threatened because they are cutting up, right? So, so being calm, walking away, addressing the situation in a tactful manner, is a life skill. And you better have yourself together when them police officers pull you over in the States, right?
Right.
So, that literally can be a matter of life and death, and that death could come very quickly if you
Mhm.
have yourself in check. Because a police officer, all they have to do to pull a weapon and to defend themselves is say they felt threatened.
Yep.
So, see how that segue works? If you African American, you already inch away from being threatening.
Exactly.
So, you got to be careful, and you got to teach your kids. And I'm gonna tell, I don't know who I'm listening to or who I'm talking to right now, but if you have a young Black child or a child of color, one of the best things you can teach them is how to control their composure, their temper, and when a law enforcement person gets around them, to be respectful. Yes, sir. No, sir. And move on out that situation and then fight another day. I had a school that I was working with, and I kind of got into, one of the stories I'll never forget. Well, when a young man was killed, because he just didn't respond correctly to a situation where he was being threatened, and he might have been here had he carried himself differently, to survive the encounter. And I had a school tell me, "Oh, well, that's not the right message. That's not the right message." I was like, "So you mean to tell me teaching your child how to survive isn't the right message?" Well, I guess I'm gonna have to be wrong. Because if you can teach somebody to survive, if the military will teach people that are armed on how to move and when not to engage the enemy, why shouldn't I teach that same skill to our kids?
Amen to that.
So we can get real confused when it comes to when to stand up. I don't want my child standing up with somebody with a gun.
Yep.
I got the gun at the house. You know what I'm saying? I got the lawyers at the house. I got the ability to fight in a way that we can put the advantage back in our hands. But I don't want my baby, I don't want my child out there trying to fight a system that has systematically tried to destroy us.
Yep.
So, it's really an ignorant mindset that we have out here. And these little electronic devices don't have any magical force fields to protect from bullets. So social media has given this false sense of reality. And I don't even have to talk about it. You can look it up. There have been multiple people killed videotaping their own death.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. You see it.
So, I think we have to just understand that you have to be intentional with this thing called being proactive versus reactive, because we live in a very real world, and it's getting more and more real by the day. And if you don't know that, if you can't see that, just look around. Your freedoms and your rights that have been fought for many years are under attack, under the guise of other things. So, just you better figure it out. Because these kids now, we're gonna have to go back to, like I said, return to the village is not just a concept that we're doing during this year and during this time. It's a way we can make it, and we had to know how to make it back in the day. Back when there were sundown towns, and
Yeah.
they still are sundown towns in the United States. People look that up, find out you might have one close to where you're at, and you better not be there after dark.
That's right.
You don't want to find out that you're in a sundown town.
You're dope.
Night. You don't want to do that. So there's a ton of them all over the United States. And you better know. When I was in Florida, I knew where the sundown town was, and they made sure that you knew where the sundown town was. And you can typically find it on the back of the city sign when you pull into that city district, and look on the back of that sign, and there may be a message for you there to let you know that you better be out of there before dark.
Drive straight through.
Yeah, drive through. Yeah, if you get that little funny feeling in your stomach when you pull into a certain area, hey, might get on your GPS and see where the next gas station is a few miles down the road, because that may not be where you want to stop. That is a very real situation, situational awareness, and that is not the time to get into an argument with that local sheriff area. We back in those times. There's never really a time to get in an argument with a sheriff, law enforcement, period. Yes, sir. No, sir. Right. Sure. You have a good day. If I get pulled over, I turn, in the States, I would cut my hazard on, make it accessible, windows down, have all my paperwork right there, have my hand at the 11 and 2, whatever they need. Boom. Now, I'm not going to give you no reason to open up shooting season on me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's it. So hey, we're giving us some good stuff, man. I'm about to go to bed. I'm 9 minutes over. I ain't gonna charge you though. Yeah, so we're gonna shut it down with what we always say. Your actions speak so loudly. I can't hear a word you're saying, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna add a little twist on it. Hey, Ron, I can always hear what you're saying because your actions are saying the right thing. So that means I'm gonna listen because your actions are consistent with what you say. Right. So, and let that be a lesson to us parents out here. Make sure your actions are saying the right thing, because that's really what the kids are listening to or they're going to emulate. You can say whatever you want. They're going to do what you do.
To that, brother. All right. Well, you get some rest. And
I will.
We'll talk to you later, sir.
All right. Y'all have a good day. Peace out over there.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to WSAN Radio. Catch us on our YouTube channel, WSAN Radio SA. Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification button.